This week's Parsha is Parshat Vayishlach, which is the 8th Parsha in the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis. And in this week's Parsha, Jacob finally returns to his homeland, to his father's house, to see Isaac after being gone for 36 years. During that time, he found his wives and he spent time in the house of Laban, working for him in order to marry his wives. He spent 2 years traveling, but at the beginning of his journey, before any of that, he spent 14 years in the academy of Shem and Eber in order to learn and to study. Now, he was a very learned man already. He had spent his entire life studying with his father one-on-one. That's an amazing education. But he was about to prepare to be in Haran, in a land that wasn't as holy, and it was filled with immorality. And he needed to prepare himself to study with people who understood that world and what he would be facing. He needed to spend the time to study with them so that when he went out into the world, he would have a good moral foundation, a good moral backing to support him and to lead him into the world. Now, I want to focus a little bit about education because with tremendous gratitude to Hashem, I can say that tomorrow I'm going to be graduating college after 4.5 years. I studied global media and production, which essentially is business and photography, and my minor was Spanish. And my ancestors didn't have the same blessings as I have to study what I'm interested in and to take the time away from working, from other obligations to study. My grandfather, my dad's dad, he had a tremendous mind. I never knew him. He passed away before I was born. But he was a Holocaust survivor and really only got a middle school education. And yet, at the same time, he ran a successful business for many years, up until the day of his death. He sold fruits and vegetables on a truck at flea markets to nursing homes. He really had a great mind, and I could only imagine what he could have done if he had had a formal education past middle school age. And he managed to put my father and my uncle through medical school and journalism school, which is incredible. And really, it's amazing what an education can do. I know a woman and her mother spoke maybe 7 languages, and that saved her from being killed in the Holocaust because the Germans used her sort of translation skills as it was an asset for them. And each one of us has our own interests and our own areas of interest that God sort of has destined for us. Each one of us excels in something, whether we get a formal education or not. But education is so important, and studying is so important, and learning. And when we can have that sort of the freedom to study what we please and to continue to grow as people, that's amazing. Then we need the Torah as our backing, just like Jacob needed those 14 years of studying to send him out into the world. We need the Torah to keep us rooted in our moral values and our ethics so that we can go out into the world and do what we are meant to do. But we really need the Torah as that foundation. So I encourage all of you to study the Torah and to continue learning and growing in that area to keep us from the temptations that are out there. But I also encourage us to get an education in whatever field of interests us, because it's so easy. Even if you're not in a college, even if you're not in a university, YouTube is amazing. Right there on the computer, you can just search anything you want and it'll come up, and you can learn it and focus on it and master it. You can go to the libraries, you can ask people for advice and wisdom. There's just something amazing about knowledge that once you learn something, it's with you for life. You learn a new skill, you learn a new subject. Whatever it is you're learning, that stays with you. That's a gift that Hashem has given us. We can read something and learn something and grow with something, and each one of the things we learn leads us to a new opportunity, to a new place. It furthers us as people. Knowledge is really something that others can't take away from us, and so it's so important to continue to learn and to continue to grow. And so I hope we can all follow in Jacob's footsteps and continue to focus on our learning and our Torah study in order so that we can be really grounded and rooted in what's important, and then go out into the world and share the work of Hashem and share the gifts and the talents that He has given us with others. I wish you all a wonderful week and a Shabbat Shalom.